Well, Spacebound is out, and with it a bunch of new changes that are coming online to the game. And we have been watching the teasers for a while now, and there are some changes that are really expected to, change a whole lot about the game. But there are also things that were quite unexpected. Just like this. I'm going to cover up quite quickly within this update. And if you ask me, oh, but like, you're going to talk about spaceships, right? This is an update all about space. Nope. I'm going to add in tanks because fuck you. And that's what I want to do. And from a few months back that I made on how to make an MBT, very outdated now. There are so many parts coming from this update and also from the community itself that there are many things that can be improved on that model. Making a new video on how to work with these things. First off, starting up with the changes, let's talk about the cannons. One of them can auto-aim now, which as you can see, I'm going to just slowly drag my aim, and very slowly, once they detect a target, they move in and stay locked like that. So yeah, the bigger cannon still requires you to actually aim, and as you can see they are kind of unresponsive at times, but they work. It happens that auto aim right now, this does mean also that the center of mass within your vehicles, as we get here, it's going to be of great importance since they are always going to aim for that spot. Which means that right now they're 100% going to be very important and something to keep in mind. Changes, the stabilizers are going to take a much lesser role than they usually did. Although I still do believe that they're somewhat still going to be needed since that these guns, they are very slow to aim around. So having a cannon that can reliably aim on a single direction is going to be very healthy for you. Like a bit seriously, they are quite slow. If you're playing against slow targets or immobile targets, this might be fine. But if you are facing something that's mobile while you yourself are moving around on a horizontal and vertical plane as that hill, I seriously do not trust them to do all the work alone. They'll have a reload of 3 seconds now as opposed to their previous 1 second. However, they have received quite a fat buff to damage, which means that each shot counts much more than previously. The big fuck-off cannon also got a new buff. It deals 1500 damage, explosion damage, and its area of effect has been increased by 50%, which means that this thing now has a very big explosion. You can see right there, it's explosion quite similar to that of a bomb. So it does not auto-aim, but it is by far the single piece that carries the biggest punch currently in the game, which is half of the reason as to why I do believe stabilizers will still have very good importance moving forward, especially if you are going to use one of these cannons as well. Big boom. Something I forgot to mention, that applies to both cannons, is the fact that cannons, the cannon locks, are naturally shooting fast projectiles now, which means that for the first time in ever, you don't actually need pistons to do the heavy lifting, since as you can see right here, I'm going to aim this shot and it flies quite well, and even at long ranges, which means that pistons, at least for now, are only ever going to be needed if you are working on a vehicle that wants to fight at incredibly long ranges. Moving on, gyros. Literally heli engines, but better. They dampen your movement so that you don't crash. They don't have a startup rhythm before hitting a good velocity. They can apply much more force, and they are also not going to rip your build in half if you install them wrong. Gyro stabilizers, something that I really did not expect to get a much use out of, but they might be one of, if not the greatest tool to help with vehicle movement in a long time, even ground vehicles. Few of these things on correct settings is going to allow your vehicle to be virtually impossible to tip over. They really stick you to the ground, and you can make a lot of very dangerous maneuvers without any sort of threat of just tipping over. So you can go fast and they're going to be there dampening your movement and making sure you just don't tip over, which is going to be a great bonus to several vehicles out there. Onto shield blocks. A rather obvious one. Obviously, it's extra, quite cheap armor that can be plugged very easily into a vehicle, and it is actually quite resistant to blasts, bullets and all that shit, although you do need to space it out in between the vehicle and the blast, because it does not fully absorb the AoE of it. Important to note that with a single EMP, it can just be taken out entirely. Although without an MP they are quite a tough nut to crack. These things can take like 4 cannon shots and several bullets before going out. Another great way of taking out shields is with lasers. And speaking about lasers, yeah, they're here and they are OP as fuck. Fast firing, they are very precise, and they do a fuck ton of damage, as demonstrated right here. These are probably the single best weapon with the best damage output in the game as of now. They are a weapon that completely breaks the mechanics of wound, and they just treat all the blocks the same. Just destroying most blocks at 2 to 4 shots, like no questions asked, even the shield blocks. Seeing something that uses some of these boys, you really should not count on your armor, at least not so far. The best thing you can do to possibly try against these things is to just take them out before they take you out. Actually quite hilarious how strong they are, and I am 100% sure they are going to be nerfed at some point. There's just no way the devs are going to leave them like this. And talking about weapons, yeah, rockets are back. They have been buffed back into their old strength, and I'm not quite sure how good they will be now, seeing that the cannon also, auto aims, and it does have a greater fire potential and smaller reload time than the rockets, but they are certainly an option right now. If you have a vehicle that uses rockets, since it's a main armament, you're going to notice that it's going to be a lot stronger now. About seats, the indestructible seat is no longer indestructible. Instead, it is a block with 30 wounds right now, with the rest of the seats only having 20 wound, which means that this thing can take about 10 bullets more than these things worth of damage. Wheels! They work now. Might be the best thing about this update. They're no longer going to sink on the ground as often as they did. That said, the only things I have not mentioned that did come out in this update are the likes of the Quantum Rudders and the new busters, but there are things that I really don't believe are going to impact ground gameplay all that much. And we shall get to the meat and potatoes of this thing. How will tanks look in the future? All of the weapons receiving several buffs to their damage output, the future of tanking is going to be one where mobility and armor in a good balance is going to absolutely be king. A vehicle that has way too much armor but that stands still will probably be melted by lasers, and a vehicle that's too fast but has no armor will probably be one shot by one of these cannon boys. And weapons coming around, it's going to absolutely be important that your tanks are able to dish out as much damage as they take. Shields will be big. Are also going to be a very big and important part of future tank builds, seeing that they are very easy to place, they are rather potent, and they are a very nice external layer that can protect you fully from blast damage. It's also important to note that they are regenerative in nature, which means that you can take a few shots, go on, hide, and it's going to restore itself to full health, all while protecting your main body from any sort of damage. Stabilizers are going to have a much lesser degree of importance in most builds moving forwards. Probably none if you don't use the big fuck-off gun alongside the other guns in your kit. If you are good at just manually keeping your aim at a target without a stabilizer, then their importance is also going to be rather minimal. Accuracy is absolutely going to be very important. Now that tank shots have a much longer reload and seeing that their damage is now much bigger, it's going to be absolutely crucial to hit all the shots you can get. Which is the reason I myself will still build stabilizers into my vehicles moving forwards, just to have this tiny edge. It'd be important to build your tanks with a bit more of armor weaving and better patterns that keep your armor together in a stronger fashion. With all of this damage suddenly coming in, it's going to be absolutely crucial that there are no weak spots that can fumble your entire vehicle over. Finally, lasers and EMPs. They are both going to be very big parts moving forward. Lasers being something that just chews through absolutely anything, and the EMPs being, of course, EMPs. They're going to disable most vehicles, and they're going to be especially useful when fighting against nosy aircraft. I'm going to leave this video right here. It's going to be rather interesting to see what the community will come up with in the next future days, and see how much is created in this meantime. Because this is an update much bigger than I thought anyone expected for this section of gameplay. Well, this has been Australis, and I am grateful for you all for watching this video. If you have liked it, consider leaving a like, subscribe, and that's all I have for you today. And I see you very soon. Peace.